the first thing they asked me was, do you know how to use a camera? They're very different.
Yeah.
Completely different. Safe place to be in, and that's not something that you can say from the biggest, most modern cities in the New World. Saying a few things in their own language will be way better than showing up expecting them to speak English. I think they have their own unique look if you really pay close attention. I don't know about connoisseur, but all I know is that I love it.
Good afternoon and welcome to another Vodka Vodkast with me, Connor Klein, and today I have a guest whom we're going to interview who has been spending lots of time here in Moldova, in magical Moldova. As I refer to as he's a Latino. He's originally from El Salvador, and we are going to dive into what inspired him to spend so much time here in Moldova, also in neighboring Ukraine, and how he finds it here as a foreigner and more specifically as a Latino. So, Javier, welcome, bienvenido.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
Since this is the Vodka Vodkast, we have some actual vodka with us. So let's start off our video by
Cheers.
saying Noroc,
Noroc,
which is the Romanian for cheers. Always the best way to start one of these interviews.
Now,
the answers will be more interesting.
Wonderful, absolutely.
So, give us a little bit of detail to your background, where you have been living, where you were born, and your path to coming here to Moldova, to this least traveled part of Europe, probably at this point.
Absolutely.
One of them, anyways.
Absolutely. It's a bit of a long story, but I'm going to shorten up as much as possible. It's like a combination of being born in Latin America and El Salvador, but because when I was born there was a war going on, a civil war. My family fled and we moved to the United States. So I've spent most of my adult life in California. So I grew up there, went to high school, college, and even spent some time in LA as a professional musician. But after a while, I realized that there was something more to life than just being in one place. And then out of just, we can call it destiny, fate, I met a friend who was looking for a photographer. And he was one of the guys for the paparazzi magazines.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
And he said, hey, I need a photographer to go chase celebrities. And I told him, I'm not a photographer. I've never held a professional camera in my hands before. I don't know what to do. He said, doesn't matter. Just tell them John sent you and they'll give you a professional camera. So crazy enough, I accepted and I went to the office of this paparazzi agency. And the funny thing is when they saw me, the first thing they asked me was, do you know how to use a camera? And I said, absolutely.
So you faked it until you made it, basically.
Exactly, without even knowing how to turn on the camera. And that kind of started this path of learning photography, because obviously I had to learn it, and chasing some celebrities around Hollywood. But what that allowed me to was to kind of just learn the skill of photography. And then I asked, well, there's more than just chasing celebrities. And I didn't do this for a long time. It was only a few months. I didn't like invading people's privacies. So I stopped doing that, but I kind of kept the photography in my hand, in my pocket of like, okay, what can I do with this? And then traveling was just the most logical thing.
And did you come straight away to Europe, or did you have some sort of more circuitous path towards this region? Because Moldova is obviously not on very many people's itineraries, unless they happen to watch this channel, then maybe they're an exception to the rule, since I film quite often here in Moldova. Right. So what brought you towards Moldova and Ukraine? Because I remember when we first met, you came up to me actually on the street in Odessa, if I remember correctly. It's probably about 2 years ago.
Right. Honestly, kind of finding this part of the world was out of curiosity, because first I wanted a different travel experience. I was focusing as a photographer mainly, so to me that was the main drawing point. But at the same time, I didn't want to follow the beaten path of what everybody does, Rome and Paris and the usual cities. They are beautiful cities, but I wanted something different. So I started to looking into Eastern Europe, and this was before the war in Ukraine. So I thought, Ukraine, I've never heard anything about it. I just know that it's really far east, and that just led me, hey, let's grab the camera and go shoot. And then I had a wonderful experience. The city was just surprisingly safe, because usually from the West, and when I say the West of the United States or the West, including the Western Europe, people are afraid of the unknown. And so just because they don't know about a place, they think it's dangerous. And I thought, well, it doesn't have to be like that. So I went, I had a wonderful experience, and it was incredible. It was safe. The places were just, in a way, it was like way ahead than some of the places in the United States, So it was a very surprising experience for me.
And what year was this? Because obviously with the Russo-Ukrainian war at the moment, we wouldn't call Ukraine a safe place to go to.
No, absolutely not. This was, the first time I was there was in 2017.
17, so.
2007. So it was just after the Maidan revolution, right?
Yeah,
which happened, I think, around 2014.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it was kind of the country was just getting over that. And, so it was a sensitive moment, but at the same time, I got to discover the heart of Ukrainians, which is just incredible, of the kindness, being welcomed. Like I said, being a safe place to be, and that's not something that you can say from the biggest, most modern cities in the New World.
Exactly. Definitely compared to, say, like LA or many other cities in the US, it definitely feels a lot safer in most cities in this region, even back in 2017, and in particular today, if we leave the Russian attacks on Ukraine out of the equation, it obviously throws in a different geopolitical and terrorist risk. So when was the first time you came then to Moldova? Was it when you were in Ukraine, or was it as a result of the Russo-Ukrainian war? Because you had been spending lots of time, you are working as a freelancer, as a photographer, I guess, at the time. Now I know you also have a YouTube channel helping foreigners to learn Spanish, your native language. So when did you first come to Moldova?
So the first time I came to Moldova was in 2023.
Okay.
And it was the result of the war. I think it was 2022 or 22. But anyway, it was just after that, because I just was hoping it would end soon so I could go back, because at the time the war started, I was in Kyiv.
Okay.
And I had made the decision to stay there on the long term. So I had just gotten my visa approved to stay there for at least a year. Literally 2 days before the war began.
Wow.
I got a text message that said, welcome to Ukraine, you have been approved to stay here for a year. Okay. And then the war began. So I stayed around Europe, and then I went to Italy because a friend has a restaurant there, and I helped out for a bit. And then I said, okay, I need to get out of the EU, out of the visa issues. And then I just looked at the map and I saw Moldova. I didn't know anything about it again. All I know is that it's a wine country, and I love wine. So it kind of made it easier to come here and find a new place, but at the same time also find the wine culture that, as you know, is important here.
Exactly. For me, Moldova, that's the first thing that jumps out, is the wine country, the exceptional qualities of the wines in this region. And Bessarabian wine, Moldovan wine, is maybe not marketed successfully abroad, but definitely for me, it's definitely the spot in this region that produces the best wine. So you came here to Moldova basically because of the Russo-Ukrainian war. Otherwise, you would be living in Ukraine. Again, that's a story that's pretty familiar to a lot of people watch my channel, not just to me personally. Obviously, I evacuated on day 2 of the invasion in 2022. And you decided to come to Moldova. How was your initial reaction, both for you? I mean, you knew about the wine. I presume that didn't really disappoint, because the wine is great here. But just in general, how did you find it? Because you had the experience of living in Ukraine. And how did Moldovans react to you? And it's not every day that an American, you're American, right? As well as...
I have dual citizenship, right. American and Salvadoran. Yeah.
Salvadorian. So you're quite a unique character, I guess, to come to Moldova.
Definitely. I think I might be the first Salvadoran, unless some politician came. Well, to answer that question was, how was I received and what was my impression of Moldova? I think one of the things I look for in a place that I go to is the vibe, the energy. And from the first moment I got here, I had this sense of coziness, which I like to refer to Chișinău, because being a capital city, you expect the craziness, and of course there's a lot of craziness in any capital city. But Chișinău has something unique, which is the coziness that you feel that you're in a town, even though it's a capital city. And that, to me, was quite nice because it was the first time to really get that experience. And, it's very green. There's parks everywhere.
As it is here, even.
As it is here.
On
even
the stairs of Marlene Bar.
Right, right. We're a cocktail bar in the capital, and we have wine grapes. Look, there's grapes hanging from above. So that was one of the things that really I adored, is the fact that it's cozy, it has a lot of parks, it's safe, and people are quite nice. And I think so there's also a change that is happening now, where Moldovans are really finding their own identity, independent of their history with the Soviet Union. Now, you hear Russian being spoken on the streets, but predominantly you hear Romanian. So I can see that. But I can only tell you this after being here a few times, not from the first time. But the first time it was just such a refreshing surprise not to be in a place that is overcrowded with tourists.
Yes, that is one of the big things about, one of the pluses from definitely my point of view with respect to this region in general. It's like the least visited part of Europe. The over-tourism phenomenon that you see, say, in Amsterdam or Paris or Milan or Florence, definitely alien to these parts of the world. You're not going to be queuing to go to see the sights here.
Absolutely.
Maybe up at Orhevec, I'm not really sure, which is a little bit outside of Chișinău. So you came here. How did locals react to you? Because Cozy Chișinău, that's quite a nice use of alliteration to describe it. I may steal that at some point.
I think it's great.
I call it crazy Chișinău, but is it really that crazy? I mean, the nightlife can be crazy, but maybe cozy is actually a better way to
Piana can be crazy.
Yes, Piana Vishna, where I constantly film every summer. This will be summer number 4. That is definitely crazy. But Cozy Chișinău, how did the locals react to you? And also, if you mentioned about the languages, did you speak Romanian or Russian, or did you have to rely on English? Many people able to speak to, maybe even some spoke Spanish, because many Moldovans, they speak Spanish, maybe, I'm not sure what your experience was like.
Well, they were welcoming. I have nothing to say, but just they were truly curious to see, like, where are you from? Because, I could look Latino, but sometimes people in this part of the world, they can confuse you for being from a different region of the world, right?
Actually, that's maybe another follow-up question to interject.
Yeah.
Like, where do people think you're from?
They didn't know.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was, some will say you could be from Latin America, but at the same time, you could be from just further east, or, like dark skin, dark hair. So it's quite broad, really, when it comes to it. But I think if you know Latin people, you can kind of pinpoint, you're from Latin America. So, but overall, they were, like I said, they were welcoming. Yeah. With regards with the language, I had studied Russian for a few years, around 2016 to 2018, and just because I wanted a challenge in regards of a language, but Romanian is quite similar to Spanish. They use the same alphabet. Yeah. So when I hear Romanian, there are some things that I catch. So now I am making the effort to learn more since I'm here, to be able to communicate better, because when you learn a few things in the language of the country which you're in, it's a sense of pride, and it's a sense of respect that you give to them. So that's something I always look forward to. And when I meet someone that speaks Spanish, it's fantastic, because then we have that connection of the same language.
How often does that happen here, that people speak to you in Spanish?
I can count it with the palm of my hand, one hand. So maybe 3 times, something like that. Not even...
Okay, so it's not that often.
It's not that often. Not so far.
Okay. But how do you normally speak in Romanian and Russian here, or have you relied on English? Because that's normally one of the big questions I always get asked about Ukraine or Moldova. I mean, if people don't speak.
You know what? English it's great. I mean, English, you could use English here pretty much anywhere and get away with that. So probably the only place where English will not help you, here in Chișinău at least, is at the main market, the central market, where you have, of course, the local people, the farmers that are there. They don't speak English, but you don't need to speak English. You just point at what you want. I want these apples or those grapes, and that's it, right? So, but for me, I'm actually putting some effort now to learn Romanian since I'm here. So I'm relying on Romanian or English, because I want, like I said, paid respect to the people of Moldova, and at the same time, if obviously I don't know how to say many things in Romanian, I have to say it in English, or sometimes I just throw it in Spanish to see maybe if that helps them.
Okay. And does that help?
It's been a couple times that a couple words are exactly the same.
Okay, so there is an overlap between
Exactly.
Spanish. Romanian is a Latin language, so it comes originally from Latin, but it's quite different to Spanish, all the same. It's not as close as Italian or Catalan or Portuguese are going to be. Okay, great. So you've come here. I have to ask you, how did you get on? You came as a single guy, a guy in a relationship to the region. I mean, not too many guys who actually kind of up sticks and come and freelance in a place like Ukraine are actually married to someone who's not outside the region or in like a long-term relationship. How did that work for you?
Well, I came here as a single man, as a curious traveler with my camera. But surprisingly enough, while being here, I met a woman that I fell in love with, and we developed a relationship, and to this day, it's growing. So I think the biggest thing I've learned from kind of the whole overall experience of travel is that when you put yourself out into the world and you believe that good is ahead, you will find good. So not traveling in a needy kind of way, because I think the problem a lot of guys have is that they get too needy.
I think this is like the universal problem with men.
Right,
with respect to they have lack of options, they're needy,
right,
which repels women, is very unattractive.
Exactly, like you can go traveling and you expect to meet beautiful women, to have a wild time and a summer adventure. And somehow, and this doesn't just connect to dating, because you can go to a city as just the person that's traveling to a city and have too many expectations. And therefore, you don't let the city speak to you and share the secrets that the city has, because you're already going there with your agenda. Where say, wait a minute, let the city talk to you. Let it. In fact, sometimes it's going to whisper to you its beauties. So I think it applies to traveling. It applies to if you're looking for a relationship. Travel. Just let the flow, the rhythm of what's happened is going to happen. My experience of meeting my girlfriend was completely unexpected. Just went to the pool. It was a hot day and I really wanted to go swimming, and that's the only thing I care about. And yet, that's where we met. So it's kind of letting go of those expectations, letting things happen.
Very good. Yeah, I think there's an important lesson in that for a lot of single guys who maybe come to this region thinking it's going to be easy in inverted commas. Maybe it was easy in 1995, but today is 2025. I really don't think it's that kind of scene, especially being a foreigner. But if you're someone who spends time here, I think definitely it can work out, as you said, with no expectations, just
no expectations,
having a great time. In general, did you see a lot of like cultural differences being an American Latino with respect to the culture here in relationships, both in Ukraine and in Moldova, since you spent like almost a decade in the region at this point?
Almost, yeah, that's a good point. Every country has its own culture. And even though it could be similar to other places, they still have their uniqueness. And, Ukraine, of course, has their unique culture. Even though I went there a few times, I still have so much more to discover of it. And I'm discovering it here in Moldova as well, But so far, I love it. I love the food. The food is incredible. Yeah, we talked a bit about the wine, but the food is fantastic. Mamaliga, shapka guguța, I think it's called, placinta. So this comfort food, zama. You have a hangover, zama is the best soup to have after that. So, just welcoming in and still learning, because I've only been here for a few years, like 3 months at a time. So there's so much more, but so far it's been just wonderful.
But specifically with relationships, in terms of cultural differences, as a Latino who spent obviously a lot of time in this naturalized American, did you find relationships work different compared to, say, in the U.S., where, well, we'll leave aside El Salvador for the moment.
Right. The U.S.
I think most guys are probably more familiar with culture in the U.S. Did you find it different in terms of how men and women relate to each other, or you found it similar? What would you think?
They're very different.
Yeah?
Completely different. And it's the West, and like since you're making the point of the United States, as we all know, it's quite going in the direction.
I think we should be clear about core Anglosphere, maybe compared to the rest of the West. I think there's a big difference.
Right.
Like LA is as far west as you can go.
As far west as you can get. So not even New York. We're talking about LA.
We're talking about the real far west.
The far west.
The Wild West.
And it's quite different because there are too many things that can get you in trouble in the United States when it comes to dating. You might say something to a woman and she feels uncomfortable, and then there's a lot of consequences that can happen from that without you actually being physically aggressive or doing anything wrong. And so this has made men quite scared to even approach women and to even compliment women. We're here, and what I mean here, not just Moldova, but kind of the Eastern European side, they really appreciate a masculine man. It's not so much about your looks as rather as you being the provider, the protector, and at times, almost the barbarian man, which there's no way you could get away with this in other parts of the world. So this is a huge difference, which I have been learning because, again, I moved to the United States when I was very young. So I grew up under the American umbrella of ideology, and this is how you behave, and yet I come to a different part of the world, and that you literally can throw it out the window if you want to have any kind of harmonious relationship with a woman. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you have to unlearn maybe some of the cultural norms you have in LA to be successful in a relationship in, say, Moldova or Ukraine, especially with a woman who is focused on staying here. Like, it might be different if she wants to live in LA. Maybe she's already adopting, what she thinks is going to be the culture there. But definitely if you come and spend time in the region. Because sometimes I get guys saying, well, I know this Ukrainian girl in, I don't know, somewhere in the US, in New York. But I'm like, all right, she moved 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and she wants to live in that culture, which is fine. That's her prerogative. Then she's probably integrated quite well, which she should if she's an immigrant somewhere else.
Exactly.
But that doesn't mean she's like the girls who decide they want to stay in Poltava, for example.
Exactly.
Especially this time with a war, or even here in Chișinău or Belts or somewhere. They obviously got a different mindset, and the culture norms of here is what's going to be predominant, right, in the relationship. So I think that's some good advice, that you need to gauge the local culture to a certain extent and what works, and it may be a bit different to what you're used to. So you find it a little bit more old-fashioned. I always say old school, as a mentality, a bit more like probably my dad's time.
Right.
Then you would say, well, I was born in Ireland. Definitely if I watch the dating shows in Ireland and what they say under 35s do when I watch these shows, because obviously it's different if people are over 50 on the same show. They've obviously, there's a generational difference.
Right.
It's more like it would be when I watched, from my dad's time, basically, than would be normal in Western Europe. So there's a lot less of, well, there's no such thing as going Dutch as a guy. You basically, would you agree with this? Like if you go on a date with a Ukrainian or a Moldovan woman, who's going to pay?
Well, I mean, the bottom line is that if you want to have a future in this relationship, the man has to pay. And yeah, there are occasions that maybe the woman will offer to pay, or you can split the bill. But as a rule, the man must provide, right? It's kind of like you said, the idea of, even though women don't stay at home and the boyfriend or husband goes to work, because it's more of a balanced life between men and women, still, women just feel the sense of pride that when they're with a man that can take care of them, even if it is just for that night. So the moment you say, well, let's split the bill, especially if you're just starting to date, maybe later on, if you're dating, okay, she knows that you're struggling financially at the moment, and she will help out. But as a general rule, if you want to make a good impression, a lasting impression with the culture, then you say, no, I got it, of course. Otherwise don't go on a date, because it's not going to work. It's just not going to end well.
In 99.9% of I did have one friend who disagreed with me about this, and he insisted, That's bleeding down. He kind of screened out all the women of Odessa, most of them. But he found someone eventually who was fine with that. So I guess it depends. But it's going to be a struggle if you're not willing to adapt to this more old school mentality. Okay, very good. What would you say about the aesthetics of Moldovans? We'll focus a little bit first on Moldovans. Ukrainians are so well known across the world for their beauty. That's heavily marketed, at least over the last decade or so. Same with Russian women. Would you say that Moldovans are similar in aesthetic appearance to Ukrainians? Or would you say they're closer maybe to Romanians? I'm not sure if everybody understands what Romanians look like, but for me, Romanians, for example, look a little bit like maybe Argentinians within the that South American. They're a lot more European looking, but at the same time kind of have that Latino flair and a little bit darker than Western Europeans.
Specifically how the women look, right?
Yeah, aesthetically.
That's a good question, because I think they have their own unique look. If you really pay close attention, everybody's different. That's one of the beauties of the world. That you can kind of say, no, this person is from here. So talking about Moldovan women, they tend to have darker features in regards of their hair. Could be brown eyes, but yet they have a pale skin complexion, right? So they don't tan, let's say, maybe like Romanians. I haven't spent too much time in Romania. But so they have their uniqueness of dark features for hair and eyes, but yet have this kind of sense of the Eastern European skin tones. So, but it's unique though. You can kind of see it. Now that I see, people on a regular basis, I see that this is their look, and it's independent of other people. Okay,
so you say it's a little bit different to Ukraine and a little bit different to Romania.
Absolutely.
I would agree with that in general. Romania itself is a smorgasbord of different ethnicities and looks, so it's a little bit hard to say what's really Romanian in that sense. They have a lot of different looks throughout the country as well. But here, they have a lot of influence from Ukraine because they're bordered by Ukraine, also Romania. They used to be part of Romania, part of the Soviet Union as well. So overall, we touched on the food. How would you compare it to, say, the quality of food that you were used to in the US? And, a place like LA has so many immigrants from so many different parts of the world, you can basically go out, I would assume. I've been to LA, yeah. So, and you can get whatever cuisine you want. You want sushi, you want Italian food, you want whatever it is. You can probably find it somewhere in a city like LA.
Yeah.
It's not going to be quite the case here in Chișinău or Odessa or Kyiv. How would you describe the food and how you found it in terms of what you eat on a day-to-day basis?
The food is delicious. The ingredients, I think I read that in Moldova it has it's one of the most sunniest countries in the world.
All right.
Not just in Europe.
I did do a video once on the climates, and I think maybe Crimea has a little bit more of an arid climate than here, but it's definitely sunny. Like, it's been 35 degrees. I've actually been a little bit, I think I've finally cooled down because it's like 35. Yeah. We had 40 degrees Celsius, last maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of sunshine here.
So because of the sun, right, things grow here. And in fact, there are more sunny days here in Chișinău than there are in LA.
Wow.
Believe it or not. You can
sunny
question
LA
me
versus
on that.
Uber sunny Chișinău, Moldova.
So what that means is that they have a lot of things that grow. The ingredients are delicious. The food is great. It's, comparing the prices to LA, of course, is way more affordable than you were to go to LA. In fact, you can go out to LA to a restaurant, spend $25 on a simple lunch, and be disappointed with the flavors. Okay. Where here, that can cost you maybe $10, and it's just a buffet of delicious food.
Okay, so you would say, what's the ballpark figure, say, if you were to buy ingredients, or maybe even go to the market and buy them, versus, say, LA, which is quite an expensive part of, like, the US?
It's one of the most expensive, to be fair, yeah.
Would you say it's like half the price, a third of the price here, a quarter, a fifth, a tenth? What would you say?
I think if you're talking about going to the market,
quality, for the same quality, right? Because we want to keep a high quality.
The high quality. So going to the market, you're probably talking about is 1/5 of the price of what the ingredients will cost you there than here. Like here, for example, for the most part, the ingredients and the vegetables and the fruit, they're grown organic, or if they're not, but they're high quality. In LA, you have to go to a farmer's market to get something of high quality, and there the price is 2 or 3 times as much. Okay. So I mean, I don't have the figures specifically now, but all I know is you look at these prices and you say, oh my God, to eat healthy and to eat delicious food, you really have to spend a lot of money. And that is not the case here. You could just be a normal person, earning, whatever they earn the locals here and eat well. It's not dependent on your income.
Yeah, it's just kind of the standard here. Everything is basically organic, from what I can see. Maybe if you went to some cheap restaurant, maybe it's not the best, but in general, it just seems everything is like coming straight off the land, so to speak, and you have the farmers coming in. Just that's kind of the standard way things work in Moldova. Also in southern Ukraine, we have the black soil here, so just amazing produce and the wine. How do you rate the wine? You're a wine connoisseur of sorts.
I don't know about connoisseur, but all I know is that I love it. That's the main thing. It's great. It's great. I've discovered some native grapes to the area, like Feteasca Regala and Feteasca
Niagara?
No, that's the red grape. Feteasca Regala is a white grape, and then Feteasca Alba, which is the white. So it's been wonderful because pretty much unless you are in Moldova, you won't get opportunity to try these and have the option to try. Oh, I want to try that. I want to try this. But I would say my recommendation for anybody that comes here is to try the unknown name brands, because it's easy to, and I don't want to mention names, go to the big wine houses and try their wines. But when you find the winemakers that are literally doing the wine themselves and you try their wines, they're world class. That's where I found the biggest gems, is trying things that you don't see advertised, because obviously if you advertise it, that means, you have to push
there are big brands here for vineyards. I mean, I feature them on my channel quite a bit. I've been to like about 10 of the
right. So
different vineyards here, and I feature them in my vlogs over the last few years. So
exactly. So it's kind of like you have to ask yourself, what are you looking for? Like, what kind of experience do you want to have? What kind of wines do you like? And then from there, like, I love the hidden gems, to kind of create my own path. So that's why if I go to a wine festival, which happen a lot in Chișinău in the summer, it's one of the best things about the city, I'll go to, I don't know them. Let me go try their wines. And that's where I get to discover some of the best kept secrets.
Okay. That's a lot of time and research. And a lot of drinking.
A lot. You got to do a lot of research.
Because I read there's over 250 vineyards here that provide wine tasting and tours. So if you're going to try them all, you need to have a few years.
You need a few years.
Unless you're a really hardcore alcoholic.
Definitely.
Okay, great. So how do you feel like as a creative, you touched on it earlier when we were talking about what your itinerary that led you going to Ukraine and coming here to Moldova, which is basically with the Russo-Ukrainian war and the invasion of 2022, the Russian invasion, extended invasion of Ukraine. How do you think it is as a country, as a place for someone to come to for probably a few months, unless they plan to stay long term, get the visa and sort out all the legal stuff? You can stay, most guys who are watching this have 90 days visa free every 180, so in total you can spend 6 months a year here. And a lot of guys now with Schengen being expanded to include Romania and Bulgaria, and probably soon also Cyprus, although that's not confirmed yet, they're maybe looking for a place they can hang out in. It's called the Schengen Shuffle, where they use up their 90 days in Schengen and they pop over. And normally these kind of people, digital nomads, they're able to manage their revenues remotely. Do you think it's a particularly good country for someone like that to maybe spend a few months in? What's your reaction? Because that's kind of your lifestyle, if I understand it correctly.
Right. It's, as you pointed out earlier, I teach Spanish and I have a YouTube channel, and also predominantly I work with TikTok as well. Okay. And being able to have the flexibility. So it depends on your lifestyle, right? It took me a few years to kind of build it into where I can do it on a regular basis. Say, okay, I'm here, and then I'll go there. As a country to be, as a digital nomad, I guess you can call it, because that's what we are, it's a great place, but you have to ask yourself, again, the question, what kind of experience do you want? Because if you want the sea, and you want to be in a cool place, I mean cool and weather-wise during the summers, this is probably not the best place for you, because it gets really hot here. The only escape you have to go see water is the pools, and yet the pools are busy with kids and people. So you have to compromise. Ask yourself,
Okay.
what kind of experience do you want to have? Maybe you want to come here in the winter, which is fantastic, or the autumn. So, but overall, I've been here enough to know that I do enjoy it for the times that I'm here, no matter what time of the year.
No, even
Because
the winter.
Even the winter. I've been here in the winter, and it's not freezing cold. Still, it's a temperature that it's enjoyable enough that you can go out and enjoy it. And, you know, obviously with the Christmas markets and New Year's, there's you know, it's the coziness of Chișinău.
Cozy Chișinău, that's going to be a new moniker
Cozy
for the city.
Chișinău. So, absolutely. But the main thing is to ask yourself, what kind of experience do you want? And if you say, yeah, I want to get away, let's say someone is in Rome and they want to get away from the craziness of Rome, then yeah, this is a great capital city where you pretty much have everything you need. And it's got that laid back vibe.
Is there anything that you find that you lack living here? I can name a few things, but
I mean,
see your reaction first.
stores, you know, obviously there's some stores that will be great to have, you know, to buy clothing and shoes or things like that. It's very limited here.
You can. The solution is to go to either Iași, which is about 3 hours away in Romania on the border, or to go to Odessa, which takes about 4.5 to 5 hours from
Exactly.
here.
So
Chișinău.
in the sea, I think the biggest thing for me is the sea. I've lived my whole life by the sea, by the ocean.
Okay. I'm born by the sea in Ireland, and yeah, this is one weakness of Chișinău for me. I actually can't wait to get back to Odessa in spite of the security situation with Russia attacking us almost nightly at the moment, but still to be able to go down to the Black Sea, relax, feel the sea air is something
Yeah.
that I definitely miss when I'm here in Chișinău.
Absolutely. So other than those two things, I can't think of anything else that
Okay.
I miss.
Do you find the city is the right size for you personally? The population here is about 650,000, 700,000 officially. Is that the right size for you? Would you prefer somewhere bigger, smaller?
You know, it's tough because sometimes I feel it's too small and I would want more energy, more things going on. But at the same time, I'm tired of the bigger cities. So I would say overall, yes. You know, yeah, sometimes I feel like, okay, I wish it was a little bigger so I could go across town and do something completely different. But overall, yeah, it is what it is, you know, so I can't be here saying, oh, I want it to be bigger. What are they going to do? Come and make it bigger? So it's,
Well,
you know, you
we'll
take
see in
it
the
as
future. Maybe the city will grow. Let's see, because yeah, as Moldova improves economically, as it has been, it's on the trajectory towards European Union membership, then presumably less people are going to emigrate in the future, and probably people start to immigrate here. I mean, neither of us are officially living here as immigrants, but at the same time, I think it will start to attract people eventually. As that, you know, if we look at what happened in Poland, for example, which has really transformed in the last few years with really massive immigration into the country. So, yeah, for now, it's probably not going to grow much more in the
it
next
will
5
stay
years.
cozy
It'll be cozy
for the next few
Chișinău
years.
for the next few years. Maybe, you know, not sprawling metropolis Chișinău like it may one day become.
Right.
Great. To do with like, a lot of people think that it's just because they don't know the country, and also I think in part because of Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate made these videos a few years ago where he claimed that he came here 4 times, and I think he got in fights at least twice. He may even have said 3 times. And personally, I mean, I saw some issues 10 years ago here, because I've been hanging around this region quite a lot. But in the last, say, 3 or 4 years, we've been coming back quite frequently because of the Russo-Ukrainian war. I'd really struggle to think of any incident in terms of crime or anything dodgy going on. Personally, how have you found it here? Because a lot of people will be apprehensive. Moldova, I don't know what that is. It's probably dodgy, and maybe they've watched some of the vlogs that make it look like completely destitute and crumbling, and yeah, they might feel insecure coming here. How do you feel here, and what has been your experience with respect to crime or anything unpleasant?
You know, to this day, it has been pleasant. It has been safe. But I want to point out that if you're looking for trouble, you will find it. Right? So, I don't know, Andrew Tate, but it seems like he probably likes these kind of confrontations, right? Whether you say the wrong comment to someone or, I mean, yeah, I've seen fights on the street, but I don't know what started the fight, right? I'm looking at this, and usually it's after 2 a.m. when everybody's drunk and they're just go ahead and they go at it. But if you take yourself out of that equation of violence, especially if you're a tourist in the country, that's the last thing you want to do, is to get involved in any kind of crime, then it's absolutely safe. So the main question is, what are you bringing to your experience? Are you looking for trouble? Are you the kind of person that is angry all the time, and then when you get drunk you become more aggressive, and then probably you will find somebody to fight.
Yep.
But if you are intelligent, well kept, you're aware, you never get extremely drunk, even though it's safe, you never want to be out of control completely, then this place is absolutely fine. So it's just kind of being able to control your own experience, whatever you're bringing.
Yeah, the bottom line is Andrew Tate has gotten in trouble in many jurisdictions, and he's allegedly been involved in enormous nefarious acts and criminal behavior. So
exactly.
I guess that will be sorted out in courts of law across the globe eventually. But that is something that I get as feedback when I say Moldovan. They say, "Oh, but Andrew Tate said that he got in trouble, so it must be really dangerous." But that hasn't been your experience.
Absolutely not. And we all make our own experiences anyway. So
I just also came, just to clarify, many years ago. He hasn't been here recently. So, I think 10 years ago it was definitely a lot rougher and a bit dodgier, because I first came here in 2009. So he was kind of at the tail end of that.
Right, and of course it was, I've heard stories in the early 90s. It was a rough place. It was an edgy place. I don't know for sure, but from people that lived here have told me that. But we're talking about now, the present, right?
2025.
2025. It's absolutely wonderful.
No issues whatsoever.
Yes.
What are your 3 most favorite things about Moldova, would you say? If you could say 3 things.
3 things about Moldova. Well, definitely the food.
Yeah.
I love carbs, It's a carb-driven nutrition here.
So give us a list of some of the delicacies here, or some of the staples maybe of Moldovan cuisine.
Some of my favorites are sarmale, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Is that
I
right?
love sarmale.
Sarmale, I always forget to pronounce it properly.
I'll put up some photos on the screen.
Yeah, sarmale, and of course I talked about ziama,
the soup.
I never fell in love with the soup until I came here.
And that's even different to Romanian. Romanian, they have ciorba, but here they have different soups.
And placinta, of course, the traditional. It's like the list goes on. So,
Mamaliga is also...
Mamaliga, but I wanted to mention șapca guguța. It's like this dessert that looks like a hat, a șapca, right? So it's called șapca guguța. It's delicious.
Okay, so one thing is the food. What else? 2 other things that you like about Moldova?
Definitely the wine culture, because I love wine and I love to explore and discover new places. I found some great surprises, especially in the white wine world. I've had the red wines, and there are a few, but the white wines I believe are better, in my experience, than the red wines. But sure, they have great red wines, but the white wines have been surprisingly good.
Okay, so food, wine, and Numero 3.
Numero 3. I think it goes back to finding a place that is unique, that is not too big, right? It has a cozy vibe to it, that you're still in the capital city, it's safe, it has a lot of parks, so you can go walk around and get lost in the forest, because some of the parks are big enough like forests, and feel that you're outside of a city. So to have this different experience that you would not get in other big cities, I think that to me is one of the reasons I really enjoy it, even though it doesn't have the sea. But it has this coziness to it that I just feel I want it more, rather than being in this craziness of other cities in Europe.
Okay, very good. And you touched on the lack of seaboard here, so lack of the seaside. Anything else that you would say you don't like about Moldova? We mentioned lack of good stores. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that you would say that is a negative? How are connections? Because the airport and stuff isn't really... It's not Istanbul airport or LA. In terms of the number of connections, do you find it like when you're traveling, it's
you mean connections to the airport, like going to the airport, or
no.
connecting from other places?
Yeah.
Well, that's a challenge, because a lot of times if you want to travel throughout Europe or anywhere else, you have to go to Romania.
Yeah.
You have to go to Bucharest to be able to find where all the airlines fly to, but it makes sense because there's more tourism. So definitely is not an easy place to come to directly, right? You probably have to stop somewhere else. If you're coming from Italy, you have to fly to Bucharest or Germany and then come here. So it's difficult finding flights to here and from here. But other than that, I mean, I really don't have anything specific on mind that I say, oh, I wish it was different.
Okay, and we touched earlier on the language. The national language here is Romanian. Russian is widely spoken as well, especially here in Chișinău. How much time do you think a foreigner, like your native, basically English and Spanish, would need to invest to learn Romanian? And, you know, Romanian is the national language, I think, first of all, and then Russian, because you'd already learned it. What do you think would be the value of learning one or
I think it's incredibly valuable if you learn the national language. So even though Russian is spoken here, but it doesn't make sense to learn a language that's no longer official. So I think it's better to just devote the time to learn Romanian, and how quickly you learn depends up to you, right? How much dedication you have. Like you pointed out in one of the videos we made for my channel, that you need to immerse yourself in the culture. And so being here, you can immerse yourself in the culture of Moldova, and you get the opportunity to practice. And especially if you're trying to make connections with people, with friends, or maybe find a girl to date, saying a few things in their own language will be way better than showing up expecting them to speak English or even learn another language like Russian.
Okay, excellent. My experience with, I mean, you're a native Spanish speaker, so probably Romanian is going to be pretty easy for you to learn relative to, say, Russian. I think Romanian is harder as a native English speaker, right? So I'm not a native Spanish speaker. It definitely takes longer than Spanish to learn. However, it's at least half the time of learning Russian or Ukrainian or a Slavic language easily. So definitely, I think I agree. Even if it were official, I would still say learn Romanian, just because it's going to take you half the time.
Exactly.
And if you're a native Spanish speaker like Latino, it's probably going to take you a third of the time to learn
half
Romanian.
The time, exactly.
So that makes a lot of sense. Any other advice you would give to foreigners coming here to Moldova, whether they're probably going to come on a trip first rather than move to Moldova immediately if they've never been here? You want to check it out. And maybe especially for Latinos, because I don't think they may not actually have a video of this quality from another Latino.
Probably the first one.
On YouTube, because you have these vloggers come in and go and film by Hotel Nacional, because there was a very famous video by Bold and Bankrupt Ben Rich many years ago where he showed like how dilapidated it was in parts of the city. But now the city's been transferred. He even admitted that in a recent video. But unfortunately, a lot of the travel vloggers, they just go to Hotel Nacional and then they turn off their cameras. They walk to the rest of the beautiful city, especially the parks, and then turn it on when they find some other poverty porn to film. So what advice would you give to Latinos, especially because they may not actually have seen any content featuring a Latino who actually knows what's really going on in Moldova?
Exactly, Connor. And you have a very good point, that the problem that I see now with travel vloggers is exactly that. They just showed you the building, the traditional dish, they spend a couple of days and they leave. So they never really get to find the rhythm of a place. And I believe in rhythm. I'm a drummer myself. I played drums for many years. So to me, it's all about rhythm with everything. So finding the rhythm of a place, you have to stay there long enough and come back over and over to understand it. So what advice would I give to foreigners and Latinos? Let's just say everybody, because it's the same. At the end of the day, we're all the same people. Is to just put your expectations aside and enjoy your stay. Let the city, let the people, let the food, let the wine speak to you. But don't come with expectations. Don't come here, even though they might see this video. Still, just come and let the place talk to you. Put all your expectations aside, because then you really get to enjoy it and have your unique experience, rather than saying, oh, I saw Connor at this place and he had this amazing time, so I want to have that same amazing time. It doesn't work like that. Every situation is unique, every person is unique. So my biggest lesson in traveling has been exactly that. I don't even look at much about the place that I'm going to visit. I just know I want to go there, and let's see what happens. Let's see what's there. So I would say that's the best way to approach it. Just come and let it speak to you. Okay, very good. Yeah, I've noticed some foreigners who come up to you, they definitely came with big expectations, especially if they were single. With respect to dating, and then, what do you think is going to happen within a week? Just showing up alone
as a tourist and not speaking the language and having these crazy expectations that suddenly the ladies of Moldova are going to be, throwing themselves at them.
Exactly.
Again, this is 2025, not 1995, where they might have been desperate to leave back in the day.
They hear you say hello and they're like, oh, all over you already.
Hello, America.
Exactly.
And so those days are long gone. Very good. So in conclusion, do you have a parting message for people who are considering coming to Moldova? What do you think would actually be a good amount of time to come as a state to get their own experience? Should they come for a week, for 3 months, or somewhere in between? What do you think?
I think it's good, like you mentioned earlier, that it's better to first get a taste of it because it might not be for you. So you don't want to plan a long stay for, let's say, even a month is quite long if you don't know if you like it. But if you want to have an experience that is more laid back, yeah, probably a month will be fine. I think the best thing you could do is probably 1 week, 10 days, 10 days. 1 week tends to go quickly because the first day you arrive is half a day and then you leave, so that's half a day already. So it could be 2 days that are gone. So better if you come 10 days to get a vibe. So you get a full, I like to think of cycles when you go to a place. There's a weekly cycle. So when you go to a place, you want to go through the Monday through Friday and Saturday and then the middle, right? So you have this complete cycle that you understand what's going on. Because if you come on a Monday, you leave on a Friday, you miss the weekend. Or if you just come on the weekend, you miss the weekday. So just have a cycle.
Okay, so at least 10 days, you would say. See if you like it. You can always extend your stay or come back, and then you'll get a good idea. I hadn't thought of that, yeah. Maybe make sure you like Moldova before you commit your 3 months to being here. Because it's not for you. I brought many clients here, for example, and some loved it, and some they didn't think it was for them, but they were able to understand that better after their trip.
Exactly.
If by any chance anyone is interested in learning Spanish, you're going to throw your link on you're easy to find on YouTube anyways. What's the name of your channel again?
Just Speak Spanish.
Just Speak Spanish, there you go. So if you are interested in learning or improving your Spanish, then Xavier is the guy for you. For that. Not particularly useful if you come to Moldova, but it is what he's doing in part to be here, right? To finance his stay in these part of the world, being able to travel around. Of course, being able to manage your revenues remotely is really important if you want to have the flexibility to travel around. And yeah, I think from my point of view, that is everything.
Awesome.
Muchas gracias.
De nada, gracias a ti. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it's great. And we'll hang out and have a few glasses of Moldovan white wine, since I know you like the white wine. Plus, it's pretty hot.
Fantastic.
And we'll enjoy another fantastic evening here in magical Moldova, or Cozy Chișinău.
Cozy Chișinău.
That's going to be my new catchphrase, Cozy Chișinău. Okay, so.
Awesome.
Ciao, ciao.
Cheers.
And see you on the next Vodka Vodkast. So the most frequent questions that I get asked, whether it's DMs on Instagram or comments on my live streams or beneath my videos when it comes to Moldova is, Connor, which bars, clubs, restaurant, cafes should I go to when I come to Chișinău, Moldova? I have simplified everything for you. I have spent, summer 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025 researching the best spots in Chișinău in Moldova, not just for cafes, restaurants, bars, clubs, shisha lounges, but also I have gone and sampled the wine in over 10 Moldovan vineyards, and it was, to be very candid, a lot of fun doing the research for all of this. And I have collated all that great information into a guide. It's going to also help you with the logistics of coming here, and it's available for purchase down below. In the video description, there is a link. You can go and grab that now, and it will just save you absolutely huge amount of time, because it literally took me months to go to the cafes, restaurants, clubs, bars, shisha lounges, and all those vineyards in order to simplify it for you when you come here. So I spent months doing it, so you don't have to, and you can hit the ground running when you come here to Chișinău in Moldova. And once again, it's down below for purchase in the description to this video. So I'm gonna take off because I'm absolutely boiling here, sweltering under the Moldovan sun. And when I'm shooting this particular clip, it is only June, and it is actually not super hot yet by Moldovan standards. It's probably just around 27, 28 degrees Celsius, and Moldova, it can get into the high 30s Celsius, even over into the 40s. So I'm looking forward to getting a nice suntan, your Irish boy here, with his Celtic skin, in this incredible heat and sun. And I wish you a very successful trip to this very infrequently visited country, magical Moldova. My guide is down below, the Insider's Guide to Magical Moldova. And on this very sunny, late afternoon, early evening in Chișinău, I bid you o seară bună, o seară plăcută, and I hope to see you here in Moldova at some point. La revedere.